Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And welcome everyone to our June 28th Zoom Satsang keynote presentation. First topic, Yoga Sutras. And we are going through chapter 3 as a presentation. And we're up to verse 7. These three limbs are internal relative to the preceding ones. Commentary. Here Patanjali refers to the practices of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, the three elements of Samyama mentioned in Sutra 3.4, stating they are more internal than yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and pratyahara. He is continuing with his discussion of stages, implying again that mastery of the earlier five brings in its wake effective engagement with the last three. Another way to understand his intent is to know that the outer expressions of life and consciousness must be clarified and mastered before the innermost explorations are undertaken. And Gurudeva's quote. Charya, Kriya, Yoga, and Jnana are the sequence of the soul's evolutionary process, much like the natural development of a butterfly from egg to caterpillar, from caterpillar to pupa, and then the final metamorphosis to butterfly. These are four padas or stages through which each human soul must pass to many births to attain its final goal. Before entering these spiritual stages, the soul is immersed in the lower nature, the anava marga, or self-centered path, bound in fear and lust, hurtful rage, jealousy, confusion, selfishness, consciencelessness, and malice. Then it awakens into charya, unselfish religious service, or karma yoga. Once matured in charya, it enters kriya, devotion or bhakti yoga, and finally blossoms into kundalini yoga. Jnana is a state of enlightened wisdom reached toward the path's end as a result of self-realization. The four padas are not alternative ways, but progressive, cumulative phases of a one path, sanmarga. Verse 8. Yet these limbs are external in relation to samadhi without seed. Nirbija, without seed. These limbs refers to dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. The term seed, bija, refers to the potential for form, change, or mental activity. Seeds are latent impressions or samskaras, stored in the mind, which have the potential to sprout into thoughts, emotions, and actions. They represent the residue of past experiences. These subtle impressions or tendencies can arise in the mind, even in deep states of meditation. Patanjali reminds us that samadhi itself has stages, speaks of the ultimate stage, samadhi without seed, nirbija, or asamprajñata samadhi. By this he means a samadhi which has no form, no object, no seed to sprout into experience. In the Yoga Sutras, Nirbija Samadhi, samadhi without seat, is described as the ultimate meditative attainment. It is a state in which all mental activity has ceased and no impressions, samskaras, or seeds, bija, remain to sprout into future thoughts or actions. The mind is completely still and awareness stands alone, untouched by form or content. This is not the annihilation of the self, but its absolute disentanglement from Prakriti. The Purusha, the pure witness consciousness, remains distinct and isolated from Prakriti, leading to Kaivalya, or final liberation. In contrast, monistic Saiva Siddhanta speaks of an even more profound realization known as Nirvikalpa Samadhi, a term Patanjali does not use, in which not only thoughts and impressions, but even the sense of being a witness is transcended. Nirvikalpa means without conceptualization or beyond distinctions, pointing to a state beyond the dualities of observer and observed, knower and known, whereas Nirbija Samadhi is characterized by still, seedless awareness. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the dissolution of awareness itself into the absolute, Parashiva, which is beyond time, space, form, and even consciousness as we typically understand it. In this state, there is no I to experience, only Shiva remains. Thus, while Nirbija Samadhi marks the culmination of meditative effort in Patanjali's system, leading to the isolated freedom of the Purusha, Nirvikalpa Samadhi in the Saiva Siddhanta tradition goes beyond individual awareness altogether, culminating in the soul's direct and total union with the divine. And Gurudeva's quote, "This then leads to samadhi, the very deepest samadhi, where we almost, in a sense, go within one atom of that energy and move into the primal source of all. There's really nothing that you can say about it because you cannot cast that concept of the self or that depth of samadhi. You cannot cast it out in words. You cannot throw it out in a concept because there are no areas of the mind in which the self exists. And yet, but for the self, the mind, consciousness would not exist." Verse 9. Transformation toward restraint occurs when the externalizing samskaras are subdued, and the restraint samskaras emerge in the mind at the moment of restraint. Commentary. Yogi, through his inner work and discipline, develops new samskaras which neutralize and subdue the worldly samskaras, which are the common man's lot. These yogic impressions are brought to bear and further strengthened each time he strives to control the mind, to quiet the mental noise. Slowly, his controlling impressions become stronger. Then the instinctive impressions that normally dominate, and he is able to use the one to be rid of the other. This subtle interaction between the control and the controlled is a major discussion in the sutras, to be understood through practice and more practice. This is a helpful point, and that it encourages us to practice. We can see the benefit. It's easy to think too short a term when it comes to practicing restraint of the mind. I'll master it in 3 months. But We're building new samskars, new impressions in the subconscious mind, and that takes time. So every time we restrain the mind in our meditative efforts, adds samskars of restraint, and when those get to a certain point, makes it easier just to be restrained without effort. And Gurudeva. As you sit to meditate, awareness may wander into past memories or future happenings. It may be distracted by the senses, by a sound, or by a feeling of discomfort in the body. This is natural in the early stages. Gently bring awareness back to your point of concentration. Don't criticize awareness for wandering, for that is yet another distraction. Distractions will disappear if you become intensely interested and involved in your meditation. That's the point there, interest, that we've talked about recently. The more interesting you find the subject, the easier it is to stay concentrated on it. Verse 10. The flow of tranquility is due to these samskaras. The previous sutra explains the interaction between two types of past subconscious impressions, externalizing vyutana, samskaras, and internalizing nirodha, samskaras. In this sutra, these refers to the latter group, which contribute to a peaceful flow of consciousness in meditation. Since samskaras are cumulative and not limited to a single lifetime, good point, it can be encouragingly inferred that the collective power of all past efforts to restrain awareness comes forth to subdue the prevailing outgoing samskaras in one's meditations. Satguru mentions this phenomena in the passage below. As the yogi develops the patterns of control, the restraint samskaras of mind, he masters the ability to withdraw into himself and rein in the flow and fluctuations of thought. Then there arises naturally a peacefulness, a quietude that is profoundly rewarding. This state is an island of peace and solitude in which he can return again and again, and balancing his forces against those of the external world. So that's a goal that we have, is to be able to return again and again, basically every day. Goal is to be able to return every day to this peaceful place, which helps us balance the forces against those of the external world. Patanjali's intention in using flow emphasizes the idea that once the mind has been disciplined through consistent practice, it begins to experience a smooth and uninterrupted stream of calmness and focus, a continuous state of tranquility. And Gurudeva's quote, as soon as strong initiative is taken to change our nature toward refinement, a new inner process begins to take place. The forces of positive accomplishment from each of our past lives begins to manifest in this one. The high points of a past life, when something great has happened, become strung together. These merits or good deeds of vibrations in the ether substance of our memory patterns, because each one of us right now is a sum total of all previous experience. All of the distractions of the external area of the mind begin to fade, and positive meditation becomes easily attainable. It is not difficult to move our individual awareness quickly within when distractions occur. Verse 11. The dwindling of scattered attention and the awakening of one-pointedness transform the mind towards samadhi. Commentary. The mind is naturally given to wandering, focusing now on this and now on that, mulling over the past, worrying about the future, reflecting and reacting, frequently without plan or purpose. It is the work of the yogi to tame this undisciplined movement, to slowly harness the beast, bring the mind to concentrate as he wills and for as long as he wills on a single object. It is a fundamental skill he must master. His every effort at this brings him closer to the goal of unity of contemplation. And Gurudeva's quote, upon entering a state of meditation, one may find awareness enmeshed in a struggle between the subconscious of the past and the conscious external waking state concerned with the present and future. The experienced meditator learns that he is the watcher, pure awareness. When concentration is sustained long enough, he dives into the superconscious, intuitive state of mind. It enables him at time to unravel the mystery. An integrated, one-pointed state of being is the goal, a state of inner perception without vacillation, with the ability to move awareness through the mind's various states at will. To become the ruler of the mind is the goal. To then go beyond the mind into the self is the destiny of all living on this planet, for most in a life to come. Verse 12. Then again, the most recent and the present thought waves being similar, defines the transformation of mind called one-pointedness. Sounds more complicated than it is. It means when we have a couple of thoughts in a row on the same subject, we're being one-pointed. This sutra is defining one-pointedness. In the flow of thoughts, it is most common to have subsequent thoughts differ as the mind moves, often randomly from this idea to that. As the yogi harnesses this tendency, the thought of the moment and the following thought will be similar, will follow a pattern rather than being haphazard. This meaningful river of thought, where one is not so different than the next, defines true one-pointedness. And then we have Gurudeva's quote, how does attention work? Attention is awareness poised like a hummingbird over a flower. It doesn't move. The flower doesn't move, and awareness becomes aware of the flower, poised. The entire nerve system of the physical body and the functions of breath have to be at a certain rhythm in order for awareness to remain poised like a hummingbird over a flower. Now, since the physical body and our breath have never really been disciplined in any way, we have to begin by breathing rhythmically and diaphragmatically so that we breathe out the same number of counts as we breathe in. After we do this over a long period of time, and you can start now, then the body becomes trained, the external nerve system becomes trained, responds, and awareness is held at attention. So even to achieve attention takes time. And our second topic, Path to Siva. Lesson 37, what are the two paths? How would you answer that question? In Hindu society, there are two ways to live our adult life. We call them the two paths. Most people follow the family path. A rare few follow the monastic path. A married couple has great responsibilities. They create and run a home together. They raise their children as spiritual, well-educated citizens of their nation. They provide support to the young, the aged, and the monastic community. The Tirukural summarizes, the foremost duty of family life is to serve duly these five: God, guests, kindred, ancestors, and oneself. Married life begins with the wedding ceremony, where vows are taken to be faithful and follow Dharma for life. Monastics follow a different path. Instead of having a spouse and children, they embrace the whole world as their family. They have two goals: to serve humanity and to realize God. They renounce name and fame. Their focus is worship, meditation, and yoga, which makes them pure and wise. They inspire and uplift those on the householder path. Some wander or live alone, and others join monasteries. Some are dynamic teachers. Some are swamis with many followers, and others are unheralded hermits. In Saivism, most monastics are men, but there are also orders for women. Monastic life begins with vows to stay unmarried and celibate, devoted to God, gods, and Guru. Most Hindu monks wear orange robes. Others wear white or yellow robes. Some shave their heads, while others have long hair and beards. Tirukural praises both paths. Behold those who have weighed the dual nature of things and followed the renunciate's way. Their greatness illumines the world. Domestic life is rightly called virtue. The monastic path, rightly lived beyond blame, is likewise good. The key is to choose your path carefully and follow it faithfully. Thank you very much. Om.